I can remember the day Dad passed when we got the call that the plane had went down. And I was only 5 at that time, but I saw her just devastated. And from that point on, I knew that I had to be there for my mom.
Hey, it's your girl Nancy Red, and this is Season 4 of Mompreneurs, where we celebrate beautiful Black entrepreneurs who are also amazing moms. Now, every week, I'm chatting with my guests about how they are crushing it simultaneously as a business mogul and a mom, and we're listening to their inspiring journeys and incredible advice. Now, some mompreneurs are on a mission to build a new legacy for their family, a new one, right? But my next guest has done a wonderful job of helping to preserve her family's important legacy, ensuring that for generations to come, we will all remember the music legend and philanthropist that was Otis Redding. Now, Karla Redding-Andrews didn't fully realize the impact that her father had made on society when she was growing up. But as she grew to know more about him, she was determined to help her mother found and maintain and grow the Otis Redding Foundation, where she now serves as the executive director. They have done incredible work for nearly 2 decades, and I can't wait to talk to Karla about the origin, her family's legacy, and also her own. Welcome, Karla.
Oh, I'm delighted to be here with you, Nancy. So nice to be here.
Oh, it's so wonderful. And I always, before we get too much into the business side of things, let's get a little bit personal. Okay. Who in your life puts the mom in mompreneur? Tell us about your husband and your sons.
So my wonderful husband of 38 years this year, Timothy Andrews. We met at Georgia Southern University in the early 80s. Just became friends. He was pledging of the Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, and I was worried about him. He didn't get food, so I was just being a friendly friend and gave him some food, and the rest is history. So we have 2 boys, Justin and Jared. They're 10 years apart. Justin is 36 and Jared's 26, and both boys are involved in our businesses of keeping the legacy going and running the Otis Redding Center for the Arts as well as the Otis Redding Museum. So that's those. I'm the girl. I'm that girl in my family that controls everything, and I like being the only one. So yeah, that's my little family right there.
I love it. And see, you're the girl, and so that's not the only thing that separates you from everybody else. You say you did not get any of your daddy's musical talent. Are you telling me none at all? You do not have any of his talent?
Zero talent, no height. You know, I'm 4'11". My dad was 6'2". I got his looks. That's all I got from my dad. I have no musical talent. But I can say that between having 2 parents who are so smart, both of them were very savvy business people, I got their brains. So, you know, I got a little edge up on my brothers who have the talent. You know, I'm not going to say they don't have any brain. They have some brains, but they're great musicians and great singers. But Mom and I are the brains behind this empire that we have.
Well, and your mama has been the brains behind the whole thing for a long time. I want to talk about, you come from generations of mompreneurs. This is what's so beautiful about your story. Because what's really great, you're not mourning a lack of musicality. Like you said, I know what I got, and I got a brain, and you have used your brain to really help your mother preserve his legacy, preserve your generational wealth, and make this foundation an international success.
Absolutely. And, you know, I have to give all the props to my mom who, you know, immediately with the loss of my dad just stepped in and stepped up and said, you know, I got to protect things for what Otis lost his life for, you know, name, image, likeness, the catalog of music. You don't do anything with Otis Redding until you get it approved by Zelma. And just seeing her do that growing up just made me be really more of a person to where you can control your own destiny. Even with her husband in death, she's still controlling his path, just like he just left yesterday. And she's still doing that today. So I had a wonderful teacher in her to give me all the rules and the ins and outs of the music business, and as well as some common sense rules. Because what my mom says is book sense are great, but you got to have a lot of common sense too. So luckily I'm blessed to have, I think, both, thanks to her.
Girl, that's why I love your family. I was actually talking to Ty, my producer, beforehand. I said, if aliens asked for an example of Black excellence in a family, your family is an amazing example. Like, it's like, okay, just like Exhibit A. Because for people who don't know, your family story is incredible. Just to recap for anyone listening, and they may have heard the songs or the name, but in the late 60s, your dad was on his way to a concert and unfortunately perished in a plane crash. And he was just 26 years old, okay? So this is very important. That when we think of 26-year-olds today, a lot of time we're just trying to get them out of our basement. But at 26, at 26, I know, right? When you think about what your mom and dad accomplished, they were high school dropouts. They already had 3 kids. Your mom was 25 years old when your dad at 26 perished. Yeah. And she was just a stay-at-home mom. No, she was more than that. We'll talk about that later. But there was a lot that she had to figure out at a very young age. Yeah. She had to do some quick, fast pivots. First and foremost, she had to get a degree. She had the common sense, but she didn't have what she needed to manage her family.
That's right. And to really be credible in the boardroom amongst all of these mostly predominantly white male-based industry who really felt like, oh, you don't have it. You don't know how this works. But mom just went back to business school and found out all of that. And then having become an entrepreneur of several businesses, we had one of the most successful shoe stores in downtown Macon for almost 20 years. My mom and I share that passion. And I mean, just having her, I hear her all the time in my ear. I think about when I'm making decisions, as it relates to the foundation or whether it's dad's legacy or whatever, I listen in my ear. What would mom say? What would she tell me to do about this right now? Because she's just so inspiring to be able to say, I got this. In honor of my husband, I am not going to let his legacy die. I am not going to let people, for in her words, and this is her word, I'm never going to let people prostitute my husband, just for $1. And she'll say real quick, all money ain't good money. Just remember that. All money is not good money. And if it's right, then do it. But if it don't feel right, don't do it.
Your mom had you and a whole bunch of other people. You have a team of people making sure you're doing what you have to do, because you cannot do this alone. And that's one of the elements of this that I love is, again, your mom was behind the scenes with your dad. Yeah. She was 25, small children, and then she all of a sudden had to be the front and center person. And I relate to that a lot because my dad died when I was 4 years old. He was the entrepreneur in the family. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And she said the exact same thing. She was like, all these bills were due, and these white men around the boardroom were looking at me like, you can't do this. You can't. And I was like, I'm gonna figure it out.
That's right.
And they do.
That's what we do as powerful moms and Black women. We figure it out. We are not going to let anything beat us. And I look at my mom and I think, Mom, how did you put 3 of us through private school, kept the ranch? My dad had a 300-acre ranch. They both, had that ranch when Dad died. We all had cars, private school, college. I'm like, how'd you do it? She said, I don't know how I did it, but I knew it had to be done. And I think that's the path that we as moms, we take that path. We got to do what we got to do, and we get it done.
And I think one of the beautiful things that I think separates a lot of mompreneurs, especially, those who understand what it means to come from a place that's not all puppies and sunshine, is the element of giving back to the community, right? Like, I think what people might not know about your family, which is so incredible, and it's why, the Otis Redding Foundation is so important, is, like, again, remember, this is the 1960s. Your dad passed away at 26. When he was like 24, 25. Yeah. He was already a philanthropist. Many people wait until their 50s or 60s, even now, to become a philanthropist. But talk to us about what your daddy was doing back in 1966, with his camp.
Absolutely. So, he was already inviting school-age kids to our ranch to teach them about civic responsibility and most importantly, to promote the importance of staying in school. So he would have all of these kids at our ranch, like on a random Wednesday or Thursday. Of course, we would be in school, mom's there with all the kids, and just bring them out to meet radio personalities, celebrities that were in the industry at that time. And so this is what he wanted to continue, to make sure to empower and nurture them, the importance of you can do anything that you want to do, but you got to get an education and you got to stick to your guns, stick to your rules. And so, yeah, I mean, and he was providing scholarships for people coming out of high school, going to college to become educators. He wanted to provide them with scholarships to go to Moore Clark College in Atlanta, all of these education facilities to teach these young kids, especially our kids, our black and brown kids.
Especially where you were from.
Exactly.
I mean, coming to this ranch owned by this black man and his black wife, it opened up the possibilities visually of what could happen.
It happened for you. Anything is possible. And you know, I look back and I think about, Mom and I talk about this a lot. I mean, Dad really only had 6 short years to accomplish all that he accomplished, but he was only allowed to take those 6 short years because Mom was holding down everything else. Mom was holding down the kids. She was holding down the ranch. You know, she was keeping everything grounded and level-headed while he was out making this big name for himself. And so I really tell her, I respect you, because without Zelma Redding, there would be no Otis Redding. And so luckily she just, as of Monday, she got her she was awarded an honorary doctorate in humanities from Mercer University. And I was able to be with her as she was hooded for that, at that ceremony. It was the most remarkable thing I think she's ever experienced, because she just like, I can't believe, you know, when, you know what she told me though, she said, you know, you and Tim went to college for a number of years to get your degree, and I got mine in 2 hours.
But again, she had the degree of these streets,
Exactly.
you know, and she had the degree of what I think is great about her and about so many women of her time, which is why it's so great that she gets to live in the now and she gets to see you being the head, being the executive director, moving and shaking publicly. But because before her husband passed away, we're talking the 60s, okay?
Yeah, right.
She was very, like you said, she was holding it down, but she wasn't just holding it down as a family member. She was also a business partner, and fortunately her husband recognized this. I think it's important for people to hear the story of why their partnership was so important. Example being the wonderful story behind how the story I've Got Dreams to Remember came to be.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit about that?
Absolutely, I can. You know, Mom says, and I'm going to just preference their relationship to each other and commitment to each other. You know, she said that she would always say, Otis, you know, if something happens to you, I won't know what to do. I won't know what to do around here. And he says, you will figure it out. You're so smart. You will figure out everything, is what he would tell her. So, you know, Dad was overseas touring for like a month. So she sat down and penned this poem to him. And when he came home, she said she laid the poem on the table and said, Otis, you know, I wrote this poem for you because I missed you so much. And, you know, and he was like, oh, what do you want me to do with it? She said, I don't know what you're going to do with it, but I'm just telling you, I wrote a poem and you need to look at it. Luckily, he picked the poem up off the table. She had no idea what he was going to do with it. And unfortunately, after he died, he recorded I've Got Dreams to Remember, which was her poem, and put it on the Dock of the Bay album. She had no idea that he had even laid down a beat, a track, or anything to it until after he had passed. And what's so smart about it is he made sure that when he left that studio, headed to Cleveland, Ohio, before going to Madison, Wisconsin, that she got her writer's credit for that. She had no idea. She had no idea that he had left that for her. And so now, you know, her claim to fame is, I'm a songwriter with Otis Redding.
And it's so wonderful because it's a business savvy situation, and it's a great example of giving credit where credit's due. Just for a timeline, so he passed away in a plane crash on the way to Madison, Wisconsin, but right before that is when he was creating these songs that would come out after his death and be huge hits, sitting on the dock of the bay. Yeah. His wife had written and got the writer's credit of I've Got Dreams to Remember. And this has all happened so fast. But your mom moved just as swiftly. Even in her mourning, she didn't allow moss to grow on the stones of what they had built together. Exactly. To the point where she had this credit, which meant that she got writer's money. Because I love when your mom says, I got paid. Because if you don't write the song, you don't get the money. People don't realize that.
People do not realize that. And, I think about that a lot. And that's what we teach our kids here at the Otis Redding Foundation when we do our Otis Music Camp, our summer program, which focuses on songwriting and protecting your copyrights and making sure legally everything is yours and secured is yours. But, a lot of people don't know that. And at least Dad knew, not that he knew that something was going to happen, but he wanted to give credit where credit was due. Because that's what the smart thing about him. Dad controlled his own destiny. No one told him what to do, how to do it, when to do it. And I think, just in talking back to my uncle and my mom, Dad, I was like, why didn't Dad ever go to Motown? Because Dad never wanted to be boxed. You know what I mean? He wanted to be his own man. He wanted to move like he wanted to move. He didn't want to wear the outfits that were made for him. He wanted to pick his own. So they both had just set a firm foundation of, we're going to control our destiny. This is what we're going to do. And here we are today, still living in the legacy that they set forth back since 1966. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And for Black Americans, African Americans, to be able to do that, and we're still doing it. And then there's another generation coming that's handling the same. I mean, it's just unbelievable to me. I tell Mom all the time, I said, Mom, we're not just doing something. We have a whole empire here. We've got Dad's estate. Mom's got Zaxby's. She's got all these business dealings, the foundation, the museum. We do a lot, and it's not for personal gain. It's for our community, and really to honor the legacy of Otis Redding and everything that he put in place for us before he died.
And that's very admirable, because someone in your position did not have to do this.
Yeah.
On a technical level, you don't have to be a mompreneur.
Yeah.
There are many things that you could do. What made you choose to take on this lofty, time-consuming project? Because as we know, this is not a job. This is a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. 365, 24/7. It's hard growing up as a celebrity's kid. It's kind of tough. Because people judge you. People expect you to be. Everybody expects me to be able to sing. Everybody expects me to be able to write a song. I mean, and I can't do that. So for the longest, I have to be honest with you, Nancy, I struggled. I was like, you know what? I just want to move away. I want to make a whole name for myself. I don't want anybody to know, Karla got this because she's Otis Redding's daughter. I'm going to work my behind off, and I'm going to prove the point that I am very smart and very capable of doing things. So anyway, I moved off, went and worked for a shopping center developer at the time called the Rouse Company. And I worked my butt off, but it was so great because it got to I proved to myself that you are smart. You can do great things. But now you need to pick up and go home and help your mom build everything that she's built. So I knew I had to come back home and really be proud to be the daughter of Karla and Zelma Redding. And if that's how you want to identify me as that. But I'm a very smart individual who handles her own stuff. So, it's just, it's an honor. I tell people all the time to live in the shadows of Otis and Zelma Redding is just amazing. Because those two individuals, as they put their heart and soul into making sure their community was taken care of, their kids was taken care of, their whole life being was doing things for others. And so here we are today with this 15,000 square feet building that we opened just in March, doing exactly what they wanted to do. Because if Otis Redding were living and Zelma Redding, in their partnership, we would have satellite Otis Redding Center for the Arts all around the world. Because that's what Dad wanted to do. He wanted to make sure that we went into communities where kids are suffering from not being able to grasp music and arts every single day. So here we are. Here we are.
Absolutely incredible. And when you look at this, and when you look at the work that you came into, a lot of times you say, okay, well, I'm preserving the history of these individuals, but this is also your legacy, right? Like, because before you got involved with the foundation, it was a little more local.
Yeah.
You helped to expand it to what it is today. Talk to us about what the Otis Redding Foundation is today with you as the executive director.
Well, what I feel like I've been able to do, I have a background in marketing and PR. And for me, the brand of Otis Redding is certainly loved here at home. But he's bigger than that. He's bigger than life. And my thing is the Otis Redding Foundation, Otis Redding, the Redding family, are so deserving of international appeal because of what we do, because of the music, the vast catalog of music that Otis Redding left behind. So I eat, sleep, and breathe every day to let the New York Times know what we're doing, to let the people in Italy know what we're doing, to let you know what we're doing so you can share out there. And it's working. I mean, it's absolutely working because with the museum, with the foundation, we get visitors from around the world coming in, knowing exactly what we're doing with the foundation, knowing how we are continuing the legacy of Otis Redding and keeping that catalog going, because it's always in movies and in other commercials. And those things are important. I tell my team all the time, which they make the things happen. I just dream them up. But I tell them all the time, without them and without their passion to serve kids, we might not be as successful as we are. I mean, I sit and I dream, we need to start this program, we need to support this organization, and they just make it happen. So I am very fortunate, like Mom, I think, to have a vast team of moms. Most of them are mompreneurs as well. And they're right here with me every single day. But that's what I live to do, is to make sure that we're not only recognized at home, but we're recognized around the world.
What's been the most challenging aspect of this growth? Because you have a great team of moms helping you out. And, we always say, if you want to get something done, ask a mom.
That's right.
But what have you found to be the most challenging aspect of this upwards trajectory?
Well, I think the most challenging was getting through to a construction team that I knew what I wanted. I didn't ask you to cut the budget. I asked you to create this incredible space that will make a difference in the life of a child. And you don't have to dumb it down for me, because I know exactly what I want. So that was I think the biggest challenge. It was not the fundraising for this $11 million project. That was not it. I mean, my mom stepped up to the plate and made the lead gift of $1 million to buy the dirt, donate it to the foundation, and the rest was up to me to raise the money to complete the project. And that part was easy because we have a proven track record that whatever we set out to do, we're going to do it right. And we're going to do it to the best of our ability. And it's going to make a difference in our community. I think they wanted me to feel like, Karla, this is not your house you're doing. I'm like, I didn't say that this was my house. I said this was my center. And I know exactly what I want in my center. So luckily, though, I have a backbone. My husband is great in construction and architecture. And he would sit there, he's like, she knows exactly what she wants. This is exactly what she wants. So, that was a little bit of a challenge, but we moved past that. There was no hiccups in the community. I mean, they were so welcome. And now the thing is, everybody wants to get in the building. Everybody wants to see what's happening in the Otis Redding Center for the Arts. And I love that. I just love that. But we tell them all the time, the priority are the kids. The kids get to come in here first. And parents get to come later. So, but
I love that.
yeah.
That's so important. And I think it's really great that the kids come first. And it's interesting because when you started your journey with all of this, your children were around like 6 and 16, right? They were kids.
That's right. They were kids. And they grew up right underneath this. And I think that's why they just fell into place. You know, Justin is my 36-year-old who's my director of global initiatives, not only for the foundation, but also for the estate of Otis Redding. So he's always in line with what's happening internationally as well as nationally. Jared, my youngest, is Mr. Fashion. So he does all of the t-shirts and the merchandising, exclusive things that we do for Otis Redding and for the center. So, you know, they are proud to be a part of it. And I think they really see their grandparents as just like the cream of the crop. I mean, they honor them. They talk so freely about how smart they are. And that's so good to be able to create that path that kids can come in. I'm like, you need an education, but you do have a workplace here. And so, you know, it's nice to be able to have something where they can come on in and be a part of it.
Now, when they were younger and you were in semi-hiding, you were Karla Andrews with the Redding, more under wraps because you were trying to prove yourself. Did they know of the impact that their grandfather and then thereby their grandmother had made on society, musically, philanthropically? Or was it kind of like you? The more you got involved with the family, the more they started to realize, oh, wow.
They got it way before I did. They just got it. They just know that their granddad is like, you know, Kanye and Jay-Z sampled it. Well, that's a big deal. And I'm like, yeah, it is a big deal. But, you know, your granny really didn't want to do that because it was cursing and tearing up Maybachs. And but, you know, they get it. They get how great their grandparents are. Where for me, I think it was my own internal struggling that I didn't want to feel like people would think that I was just being given opportunities because of my name. Where they don't have to do that. They don't listen. You got the opportunity. Your thing is to take it and run with it. So they got it long before I did, and they still have it. You know, they're always looking for new possibilities for the foundation and for Otis Redding. And I love that. Where I was thinking, you know, if I had just come straight out of college back home, how far we would be. But my thing is it's never too late. It's never too late because obviously getting to this now with a new center is a really big deal. So I don't beat myself up too bad about it, but they get it. They understand.
Wait, also, you know how it works. If you'd gone directly in it, they might not have been interested.
There you go.
You know, we don't know how timing. God's timing is always right, exactly. And we don't know what would have happened because also your mama was ready because that's your mama, like my mom, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Anybody who survived all that,
they
are the lady.
They are.
How has it been gaining her trust in you?
You know, and I get that question a lot. And Mom and I have always been connected at the hip. I mean, I can remember the day Dad passed when we got the call that the plane had went down. And I was only 5 at that time. But, you know, I saw her just devastated. And from that point on, I knew that I had to be there for my mom. I knew that I had to be her strength of support, always keep her motivated and lifted, because she lost something that was truly her whole life. I mean, Dad was her whole life. So, you know, it took a little bit, you know, of training and, you know, making sure that people understood that I was a part. Because for the longest, I would call the record companies asking questions, and they'd be like, let us speak to your mom. Just let us talk to Miss Redding. And I go, okay, well, she's going to tell you the same thing, but hold on. So now she's gotten it to a point to where the industry understands that Karla can make these decisions because I've trained her well. So it didn't take long because listen, we've been through so many different businesses together. It's almost like it's not like really mom and daughter. It's like just girlfriends having a party in these businesses. We laugh, we work all day and go home and laugh and talk about it. So I just appreciate her trusting me to pick up and keep it going, and also my brothers. I mean, they are heirs of Otis Redding, and they just step back. If you have to talk to Karla about that, well, we want to use Otis's song in the current. Well, you need to call Karla about that.
I love that so much because my grandparents were orphans, also elementary school dropouts,
Yeah.
and scrambled to get enough money to start a country store.
Yeah.
And anytime someone would come with a question about business, you got to talk to Nancy. My grandma's name is Nancy too. You got to talk to Nancy, okay? You got to talk to Nancy. Don't even try to act like I'm running the show here, okay?
Exactly right.
And it's interesting because this is such a wonderful conversation, right? This is so much fun. However, you are not the only child in an inheritance of a business situation that feels the pressure to not want to just think, oh, well, this is, they just got that because of this. What is your advice? Because a lot of people listening do have family businesses that are technically profitable, or they could be if someone got in there, but it's very scary to make it your life when it's your family's life. What is your advice to them? Because I don't want a lot of Black wealth wasted because the next generation is reticent to go down that path.
Yeah. Well, you've got to believe in what your family, your heirs have laid the groundwork for. You got to believe in that first. You got to understand that not everybody gets this opportunity, especially not Black and brown people, right?
Especially not Black and brown people whose parents died in the 60s.
Exactly. So, my advice is to make sure that you always pay attention. Even when I was resisting, I was still paying attention. I would pay attention to how my mom would approve these requests and how she agreed to let the use be used in movies, and how she steered the publisher away from aligning Dad's name with alcohol. All of these things I paid very close attention to. And then you look at the opportunity that, listen, you are so fortunate to be able to take something and continue it. They've already laid the groundwork for you. All you have to do is put in a good sweat equity to keep it going. So that's what I recommend people do. And I don't care whether your business is $1 billion business or $100,000 a year, but it's the same sweat equity. We as Black people have to work harder than anyone, and we just have to do it. And you should be proud. You should be proud to do it and make decisions based on not necessarily the current day, but you need to look back and pay attention to the decisions they were making back in the day, because those decisions still apply.
Miss Karla, that is a word. It is so inspirational for so many of us who find ourselves with this baton and this previous generation. And it's not always going to be easy, but it's so worth it. And what you said about respecting the work that went into your stability.
That's right.
And not being afraid to just tackle it yourself and not giving it up because it was hard won.
That's right. And it's always going to be hard. Owning your own business is always difficult. There are days when it's so funny because this morning, Mom doesn't work on Fridays, right? So I went into her house. We live right there on the property, all the acreage that Dad acquired. And then since then, Mom has turned it into as opposed to 300 acres, Mom has turned it into 600 acres. So anyway, we're all out there together. And I went in the house this morning. I said, Mom, aren't you glad you don't have to work on Friday? She said, I really don't have to work any day I want to, but I'm particularly glad I don't have to work on Friday. I said, I wish I could be off on Friday. She said, well, you can't. But just those kind of comments and those kind of funny interactions with her makes me just want to work harder. You got to do it. You just got to do it.
You have the most amazing mompreneur role model. You yourself are an amazing mompreneur role model. We are so grateful that you're here with us. Before you leave, though, I can't let you leave without participating in my favorite segment. It's called Mompreneurs Manifestation.
Okay.
And I always ask all of our guests, what are you trying to make happen? What are you trying to make happen right now with the Otis Redding Foundation? And how can we help to bring it into the universe for you?
What I'm trying to make happen with the Otis Redding Foundation is for more people to know what it is that we do with our hearts. And it's not with money, it's not with that. It is with our hearts. My whole team puts their heart and soul into making a difference into the life of a child. And I want the world to know that. I mean, we have created something here that is so magical and so special, all in the name of the Otis Redding legacy. But that is something that he wanted to do, and that my mom was smart enough to train all of us to keep going. And now I'm training my boys to keep going. And that's just amazing. That's what I want people to know, that we're doing great things. I want all the celebrities to know we have a foundation, but we are working this foundation to make a difference, not to use it as something else. We're doing great things with it. And I want everybody to know that, because we have built something that you just don't see. You don't see it.
Oh, I love that. Miss Karla, you're amazing. Tell us where everyone can find the foundation. What are the websites? What are the social media handles?
Absolutely. So you can go to otisreddingfoundation.org. We're on all social platforms, IG, Facebook, all of that. It's just Otis Redding Foundation. And you can also use otisredding.com or just at Otis Redding. Any of those socials, you can find us.
I love it. You heard her. Go to the website, learn more about how you can participate, either as with your own kids, either as a donor, or just a big support of this incredible family and the work that they are doing. Thank you so much, Karla.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. I'm so delighted. I had so much fun with you today.
And thanks to all of you for watching and listening to Mompreneurs. As a reminder, a brand new episode goes live every Monday on Urban One Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit urban1podcast.com to learn more. That's urban, the number one, podcast.com.